Weasley's Wizard Wheezes.
Weasley's Wizard Wheezes.
Yep.
Which is another instance that I called it right. Fred and George did mean to blow up Dudley's tongue because they're starting up a joke shop called Weasley's Wizard Wheezes.
Yeah, they wanna start a joke shop.
Percy is just stuck up as always because he has to protect the world against thin cauldrons.
Yep.
Harry's happy to be back. Ginny seems to be moving in on the whole trifecta of Hermione and Ron trying to get in there.
The Golden Trio,
Yeah.
as they are called in the fandom.
The Golden Trio?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. I never heard it before, but I'll go with it.
This is kind of a new thing for me. I just heard that they call them, they're the trio. They're the Golden Trio. Harry, Ron, and Hermione. Anyway.
The three Sorcerer Tears.
Either way, Ginny and Hermione seem to be getting close.
Yeah. We found out what Pig's real name is.
Yes. Yes. Do you remember it?
No.
Pigwidgeon.
Pigwidgeon.
Yep.
I'll remember it this time.
Mm-hmm,
Horrible with names. Sorry, Pigwidgeon. Okay. Oh, we met Charlie and Bill.
Yep.
William.
And Bill's cool.
Yeah. Rockstar cool.
Yeah.
Dragon boots and everything.
Yeah. I wonder how Charlie feels about the dragon boots.
Maybe he got them for him.
I don't know.
Maybe one of his dragons died of old age and Bill was just like,
hey.
You gonna use the rest of that dragon?
Chapter 6. The Portkey. Harry felt as though he'd barely laid down to sleep in Ron's room when he was being shaken awake by Mrs. Weasley. "Time to go, Harry dear," she whispered, moving away to wake Ron. Harry felt around for his glasses, put them on and sat up. It was still dark outside. Ron muttered indistinctly as his mother roused him. At the foot of Harry's mattress he saw two large dishevelled shapes emerging from tangles of blankets. "So I'm all ready," Fred said groggily. They dressed in silence, too sleepy to talk. Then, yawning and stretching, the four of them headed downstairs into the kitchen. Mrs. Weasley was stirring the contents of a large pot on the stove, while Mr. Weasley was sitting at the table, checking a sheaf of large parchment tickets. He looked up as the boys entered, spread his arms so that they could see his clothes more clearly. He was wearing what appeared to be a golfing jumper and a very old pair of jeans, slightly too big for him, and held up with a thick leather belt. "What do you think?" he asked anxiously. "We're supposed to go incognito. Do I look like a muggle, Harry?" "Yeah," said Harry, smiling. "Very good." "Where's Bill and Charlie and Percy?" said George, trying to stifle a large yawn. "Well, they're apparating, aren't they?" said Mrs. Weasley, heaving the large pot over to the table and starting to ladle porridge into the bowls, "so they can have a bit of a lie-in." Harry knew that apparating was very difficult. It meant disappearing from one place and reappearing almost instantly in another. "So they're still in bed?" said Fred grumpily, pulling his bowl of porridge toward him. "Why can't we apparate too?" "Because you're not of age and you haven't got your test," snapped Mrs. Weasley. "And what have those girls got to?" She bustled out of the kitchen and they heard her climbing the stairs. "You have to pass the test to apparate?" Harry asked. "Oh, yes," said Mr. Weasley, tucking the ticket safely into the back pocket of his jeans. "The Department of Magical Transportation had to fine a couple of people the other day for apparating without a license. It's not easy apparition, and when it's not done properly it can lead to nasty complications. This pair I'm talking about went and splinched themselves." Everyone around the table except Harry winced. Splinched?" said Harry. "They left half of themselves behind," said Mr. Weasley, now spooning large amounts of treacle onto his porridge. "So, of course, they were stuck. Couldn't move either way. Had to wait for the accidental magic reversal squad to sort them out. Meant a fair old bit of paperwork, I can tell you. What with the muggles who spotted the body parts they left behind." Harry had a sudden vision of a pair of legs and an eyeball lying abandoned on the pavement of Privet Drive. Were they okay? He asked, startled. Oh, yes, said Mr. Weasley matter-of-factly, but they got a heavy fine, and I don't think they'll try it again in a hurry. You don't mess around with apparition. There are plenty of adult wizards who don't bother with it, prefer brooms. Slower, but safer. But Bill and Charlie and Percy can all do it. Charlie had to take the test twice, said Fred, grinning. He failed first time, apparated 5 miles south of where he was supposed to, right on top of some poor old deer doing a shopping, remember? Yes, well, he passed the second time, said Mrs. Weasley, marching back into the kitchen amidst hearty sniggers. Percy only passed 2 weeks ago, said George. He's been apparating downstairs every morning just to prove he can. There were footsteps down the passageway, and Hermione and Ginny came into the kitchen, both looking pale and drowsy. Why do we have to be up so early? Ginny said, rubbing her eyes and sitting down at the table. We've got a bit of a walk, said Mr. Weasley. Walk? Said Harry. What, we're walking to the World Cup? No, that's miles away, said Mr. Weasley, smiling. We only need to walk a short way. It's just that it's very difficult for a large number of wizards to congregate without attracting Muggle attention. We have to be very careful about how we travel at the best times, and on a huge occasion like the Quidditch World Cup. George! Said Mrs. Weasley sharply, and they all jumped. What? Said George in an innocent tone that deceived nobody. What's in your pocket? Nothing. Don't you lie to me. Mrs. Weasley pointed her wand at George's pocket and said, Accio! Several small, brightly coloured objects zoomed out of George's pocket. He made a grab for them but missed, and they sped right into Mrs. Weasley's outstretched hand. We told you to destroy them, said Mrs. Weasley furiously, holding up what were unmistakably more Ton-Tong toffees. We told you to get rid of the lot. Empty your pockets. Go on, both of you. It was an unpleasant scene. The twins had evidently been trying to smuggle as many toffees out of the house as possible, and it was only by using her summoning charm that Mrs. Weasley managed to find them all. Accio! 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 She shouted, and toffees zoomed from all sorts of unlikely places, including the lining of George's jacket and the turn-ups of Fred's jeans. We spent 6 months developing those, Fred shouted at his mother as she threw the toffees away. Oh, a fine way to spend 6 months, she shrieked. No wonder you didn't get any more OWLs. All in all, the atmosphere was not very friendly as they made their departure. Mrs. Weasley was still glowering as she kissed Mr. Weasley on the cheek, though not nearly as much as the twins, who had each hoisted their rucksacks onto their backs and walked out without another word to her. Well, have a lovely time, said Mrs. Weasley, and behave yourselves, she called after the twins retreating backs, but they did not look back or answer. I'll send Bill, Charlie, and Percy along around midday, Mrs. Weasley said to Mr. Weasley, as he, Harry, Ron, Hermione, and Ginny set off across the dark yard after Fred and George. It was chilly and the moon was still out. Only a dull greenish tinge along the horizon to their right showed that daybreak was drawing closer. Harry, having been thinking about thousands of wizards speeding toward the Quidditch World Cup, sped up to walk with Mr. Weasley. So how does everyone get there without all the Muggles noticing? It's been a massive organisational problem, sighed Mr. Weasley. The trouble is, about 100,000 wizards turn up to the World Cup, and of course we haven't got a magical site big enough to accommodate them all. There are places Muggles can't penetrate, but imagine trying to get a pack of 100,000 wizards into Diagon Alley or Platform 9 3/4. So we had to find a nice deserted moor and set up as many anti-Muggle precautions as possible. The whole ministry's been working on it for months. Firstly, of course, we have to stagger the arrivals. People with cheaper tickets have to arrive 2 weeks beforehand. A limited number use Muggle transport, but we can't have too many clogging up their buses and trains. Remember, wizards are coming from all over the world. Some apparate, of course, but we have to set up safe points for them to appear, well, away from Muggles. I believe there's a handy wood they're using as an apparition point. For those who don't want to apparate, or can't, we use Portkeys. They're objects that are used to transport wizards from one spot to another at a pre-arranged time. You could do large groups at a time if you need to. There have been 200 Portkeys placed at strategic points around Britain, and the nearest one to us is up the top of Stoatshead Hill, so that's where we're headed. Mr. Weasley pointed ahead of them, where a large black mass rose beyond the village of Ottery St. Catchpole. What sort of objects are Portkeys? Asked Harry curiously. Well, they can be anything, said Mr. Weasley. Unobtrusive things mostly, so Muggles don't go picking them up and playing with them. Stuff they'll think is litter. They trudged down the dark, dank lane toward the village, the silence broken only by their footsteps. The sky lightened very slowly as they made their way through the village, its inky blackness diluting the deepest blue. Harry's hands and feet were freezing. Mr. Weasley kept checking his watch. They didn't have breath to spare for talking as they began to climb Stoatshead Hill, stumbling occasionally in hidden rabbit holes, slipping on thick black tuffets of grass. Each breath Harry took was sharp in his chest, and his legs were starting to seize up when at last his feet found ground level. "Phew!" panted Mr. Weasley, taking off his glasses and wiping them on his sweater. "We've made good time. We've got 10 minutes. Hermione came over the crest of the hill, clutching a stitch in her side. "Now we just need the Portkey," said Mr. Weasley, replacing his glasses and squinting around on the ground. "It won't be big. Come on." They spread out, searching. They had only been at it for a couple of minutes, however, when a shout rent the still air. "Over here, Arthur! Over here, son! We've got it!" Two tall figures silhouetted against the starry sky on the other side of the hilltop. "Amos!" said Mr. Weasley, smiling as he strode over to the man who'd shouted. The rest of them followed. Mr. Weasley was shaking hands with a ruddy-faced wizard with a scrubby brown beard who was holding a mouldy-looking old boot in his other hand. "This is Amos Diggory, everyone," said Mr. Weasley. "Works for the Department of Regulation and Control of Magical Creatures, and I think you know his son Cedric." Cedric Diggory was an extremely handsome boy of around 17. He was captain and seeker of the Hufflepuff House Quidditch team at Hogwarts. "Hi," said Cedric, looking around at all of them. Everyone said hi back except Fred and George, who merely nodded. They'd never quite forgiven Cedric for beating their team Gryffindor in the first Quidditch match of the previous year. "Long walk, Arthur?" Cedric's father asked. "Not too bad," said Mr. Weasley. "We just live on the other side of the village there. You?" "Had to get up at 2, didn't we, Ced? I tell you, I'll be glad when he's got his apparition test. Still, not complaining. Quidditch World Cup, wouldn't miss it for a sack full of galleons, and the tickets cost about that. Mind you, it looks like I got off easy." Amos Diggory peered around good-naturedly at the 3 Weasley boys, Harry, Ron, Hermione, and Ginny. "All these yours, Arthur?" "Oh, no, only the redheads," said Mr. Weasley, pointing out his children. "This is Hermione, friend of Ron's, and Harry, another friend." "Merlin's beard," said Amos Diggory, his eyes widening. "Harry? Harry Potter?" Yeah," said Harry. Harry was used to people looking curiously at him when they met him, used to the way their eyes moved up at once to the lightning scar on his forehead, but it always made him feel uncomfortable. "Ced's talked about you, of course," said Amos Diggory. "Told us all about playing against you last year. I said to him, Ced, that'll be something to tell your grandchildren, that will. You beat Harry Potter." Harry couldn't think of any reply to this, so he remained silent. Fred and George were both scowling again. Cedric looked slightly embarrassed. "Harry fell off his broom, Dad," he muttered. "I told you, it was an accident." "Yeah, but you didn't fall off, did you?" roared Amos genially, slapping his son on the back. "Always modest, our Ced, always the gentleman. But the best man won. I'm sure Harry'd say the same, wouldn't you, eh? One falls off his broom, the other one stays on. You don't need to be a genius to tell me which one is the better flyer." "Must nearly be time," said Mr. Weasley quickly, pulling out his watch again. "Do you know whether we're waiting for any more, Amos?" "No, the Lovegoods have been there for a week already, and the Fawcetts didn't get tickets," said Mr. Diggory. "There aren't any more of us in this area, are there?" "Not that I know of," said Mr. Weasley. "Yeah, it's a minute off. We better get ready." He looked around at Harry and Hermione. "You just need to touch the Portkey, that's all. A finger will do." With difficulty, owing to the bulky backpacks, the 9 of them crowded around the old boot held out by Amos Diggory. They all stood there in a tight circle as a chill breeze swept over the hilltop. Nobody spoke. It suddenly occurred to Harry how odd it would look if a muggle were to walk up here now. 9 people, 2 grown men, clutching this manky old boot in the semi-darkness, waiting. 3, muttered Mr. Weasley, one eye still on his watch. 2, 1. It happened immediately. Harry felt as though a hook just behind his navel had suddenly jerked irresistibly forward. His feet had left the ground. He could feel Ron and Hermione on either side of him, their shoulders banging into his. They were all speeding forwards in a howl of wind and swirling colour. His forefinger was stuck to the boot as though it were pulling him magnetically onward, and then... His feet slammed onto the ground. Ron staggered into him and he fell over. The portkey hit the ground near his head with a heavy thud. He looked up. Mr. Weasley, Mr. Diggory, and Cedric were still standing, though looking very windswept. Everyone else was on the ground. 5:07 from Stoatstead Hill, said a voice.
Oh, that's how it ends?
Yep.
Oh.
That's the end of that chapter.
So I was kind of right. I said, is the Portkey the key to get into the Quidditch World Cup? It kinda is.
I mean, it's not a key. It's just a transportation device.
Yeah, but still.
No.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah.
No, it's literally like flu powder.
Fine.
I mean, yes, they had to do something magical to transport themselves there, but it's not like a key that grants you entrance to something. It's like flu powder.
Okay, fair enough. But wait, can anyone just come up and, like, if they knew what time it was, just, hop in on this? Or do you have to have a pass to the Quidditch World Cup in order to use the Portkey?
Nope, you could pick that shit up on accident and get sent somewhere.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I guarantee you there's at least one muggle that's happened to.
Oh, yeah. I'm sure. It definitely I mean, I think they take all the precautions that they can, having it look like garbage. But I'm sure somebody touched something and boop.
And this is how conspiracies about alien abduction happen.
It's really wizards.
Mm-hmm.
Could be.
Guys, I just touched this boot. Next thing you know, I'm just flying through space.
Yeah. Could be.
It happened, really.
It really did. Well, no, they would have had
They
would have had a memory charm put on them.
Yeah, that's true.
So, because if it was a portkey that was set up and monitored by whoever, and then that person goes to the ministry and they're like, "Hey, my portkey's gone," blah blah blah, they would probably track that muggle down and be like, "Yo, you touched this boot? Obliviate." Well, maybe not obliviate. That made Lockhart forget who he is.
I was gonna say that. Yeah, you wanna return his memory to how it was like 2 days ago, not
the entirety of who he is as a human being.
Like Lockhart didn't even remember that he was a wizard.
Or what magic is.
Yeah. Well, he kind of knew what magic is.
Well, he said this is just like magic.
Yeah. So he knew what magic was. Just didn't realize that anyone could do it.
We didn't watch it when we watched Chamber of Secrets, but if you watch all the way to the end of the credits, there is an after credits scene where they do like a pan into Diagon Alley, and in the bookstore there's a book, and it's Gilderoy Lockhart in a straitjacket, and the title of the book is Who Am I? By Gilderoy Lockhart.
You just can't keep a good wizard down.
No.
I guess.
No. So, yeah, you learned about portkeys. And apparition.
Apparition. I was about to say, that just seems terrifying. I don't know.
Splinching.
And you said that you shouldn't do it all the time. Yet Percy does it every morning.
Percy's an idiot. He shouldn't do it every morning.
Percy would resent that.
There's a later book where they tell you why you don't want to do it all the time. There's a reason. But
other than splinching?
Yes, other than splinching.
I just want to... do they show that in the movie?
Splinching?
Yeah.
Yeah, they do.
Oh, they do?
Yeah.
How does that work? Are you like...
This isn't giving anything away, but in the books, there is splinching. It happens to somebody. I think it happens to a couple people. But it happens to somebody, and it's It's awful. It's not. It's awful.
Oh, I bet. I don't know how you, like, survive.
Immediate medical attention.
Yeah.
Immediate. Yeah, splinching is not. I don't want to give away exactly what happens when it happens. Like what.
Well, I know what happens. You lose half your body or parts of your body. It doesn't even have to be like full half. But it's. I don't know. That's Yeah, I wouldn't do it.
Not an apparition.
I'd
person.
I'd be a broom rider.
I don't know if I would be an apparitioner either. I don't know.
I'm telling you, broom rider.
Heights, though. That's my thing. Heights.
You don't have to get high with a broom.
Yes, you do, because muggles will see you.
No, as long as you're... I mean, muggles are going to see you if you're high, too. You know how high you'd have to be flying with the broom in order for muggles not to see you?
That's true.
And even then, when you're at that height, you risk, getting sucked into a 747 engine or something.
That's true. God, I bet that's happened before.
I wonder if it has.
I bet it has. I bet it's happened.
Pilot's just up there and sees a little blip in his
Radar
scales. Just...
Yeah.
Ah, darn geese.
That's what I mean. I bet it's happened before.
Bet you would have apparated then. Just being 2 pieces. Now you're missed.
Wasn't that your question, though? Don't they have any other form of instantaneous transport since they're witches and wizards? I think
but you told question. Yeah, but you told me about apparating because they were talking about apparating in the last book,
right? And
how they couldn't into Hogwarts.
Yeah, you can't in or out of Hogwarts.
Yeah. So, and then you just told me that you couldn't talk about it, but that they don't use it often because of the hazards with apparating.
I mean, I'm sure some people do it on a pretty regular basis. People maybe who travel a lot. I'm sure there are some out there who do it relatively regularly, but...
And they're probably in good practice, so it doesn't...
Right, the more you do it,
mess up too
the more
often.
you do it, the better you get at it, Unless you're Percy, you're being a show-off.
Mm-hmm.
Idiot.
So apparating is kind of the wizard driving test.
Yeah, it kind of is. Yeah, you gotta get your license.
Yeah.
You gotta get trained and pass a test and get your license, and if you don't, you can't do it legally.
I would just...
Because it's dangerous.
I just get a broom. Or
Call
flu. Broom or flu powder.
What if you need to go somewhere where there's no fireplace?
Broom.
I think Harry would probably agree with you. I think Harry would fly his broom everywhere, anywhere, all the time. Over flu powder, Portkeys, all of it.
Mm-hmm. Now if there's any big thing where I have to be inconspicuous, incognito, there's always the Portkey.
Yeah. But the Portkeys are pretty convenient, you know?
Mm-hmm.
Speaking of which, Cedric Diggory is back.
Oh yes, that was the other thing I wanted to say. His dad is a a-hole. I don't feel like he was trying to be, but he was very blunt.
Yeah, I don't think he was trying to be rude. I think he just really, really talks his son up.
Yeah.
Big time. Thinks his son is the greatest thing ever. smartest, most talented. Like,
one person falls off their broom, one stays on. I think that says who the better flyer is.
and Cedric's just sitting there like, Dad, stop. You're embarrassing me.
Told you about the Dementors.
I told you it was an accident. Which just kind of demonstrates that, like, Cedric is a good guy, you know? He's, like, standing there like, Harry, I'm so sorry. I told him that you fell off. It was an accident. I didn't win the match.
I will give it to him. He's not one of those wizards who just sees Harry Potter and the first thing they ask is, your scar. Do you remember what he looks like? What happened?
Yeah, he instead takes a moment to
He's
brag
just like,
about his kid.
My son beat you.
Yeah. Yeah. Yep. Also, I don't... Mrs. Weasley is being pretty persistent about the whole toffee thing. And the like, getting rid of all evidence of everything they worked on for, like, 6 months. Fred and George. She is not having it.
They did give it to a muggle. Yeah, are they gonna have to go to the Dursleys' house and, like, erase their memory about that? Or because they're in the know about wizards, is it okay? Because I know they live with a wizard, but
I'm trying to
wouldn't
remember.
trust them after that.
I'm trying to remember if it's mentioned in the fifth book, like if they did or didn't.
I think the Dursleys would appreciate it.
But I honestly don't remember. I want to say they didn't modify their memories because they know about witches and wizards.
And also, the Dursleys hate the thought of being abnormal so bad, I'm sure they wouldn't tell anyone.
Right. Well, I mean, Harry's lived with them for how long, and they've known he's a wizard, and they don't tell anyone. Besides, who would believe him anyway, even if they did?
Why is your son's tongue 2 feet long? Allergies. Forgot his EpiPen.
I feel like... I don't think they modified their memories. I want to say they did.
Well, I'd say no, because, I mean, Hagrid gave Dudley a pigtail.
And
still obviously he still remembers that.
Yeah.
Because he was terrified.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I don't think they modify his memory.
I don't think so. I think it comes up again. Like, I think it comes up at some point. Like, Vernon says something nasty or something about the toffee incident.
I just want to say it again. I would love to live at the Weasley's house.
I don't think there is a person alive who has read Harry Potter that doesn't want to live at the Weasley's house.
Is there a place you can go? Where's the, like, Harry Potter theme park?
Florida.
Florida?
Mm-hmm.
I know they have, like, a Hogwarts there.
It's they call it, what is it called? The Magical World of Harry Potter, I think. I
have no idea.
That you can go, and please comment if I'm forgetting something, because I don't really know that much about it, because I probably won't be going anytime soon, so the more I know about it, the more it hurts me that I can't go. You can go to Diagon Alley.
Mm-hmm.
You can board the Hogwarts Express.
Okay.
You can visit... They have, like, a part of the set that you can, like, go to. There's, like, rides. I know there's rides. And then, like, the Diagon Alley section... there's also, like, stuff from Hogsmeade there, too. So, like, you can go to Florian Fortescue's and Mr. Ollivander's and Diagon Alley, but I'm pretty sure you can also go to Honeyduke's. And you can go have lunch at the Leaky Cauldron. I really don't know what else. I don't know if, like, they have the Weasley's house.
That would be a perfect idea for a hotel there.
The Burrow.
You could stay, yeah, the Burrow. You could stay in the Weasley House Hotel.
The price for that would be insane.
Oh, I would never be able to afford it, but it'd still be cool, you know, to look at pictures online.
Yes. Like staying in the Godzilla room at the Godzilla Hotel.
Yeah.
Yeah. It'd be that awesome. Oh, man. I don't know what else is there. I know there's a lot there. If any of you guys know more, let us know in the comments, because like I said, I don't explore it too much because it makes me sad I can't go. And you can buy a broom. I know you can go to Ilop's Owl Emporium.
Wait, you can buy an owl there?
Not a real owl.
Oh.
It's like a gift shop where you can buy like
Stuffed owls and stuff.
yeah,
Okay.
like plushy animals and things, T-shirts and stuff like that.
Say, let's go on now.
Do you want a Hedwig or a Pigwidgeon?
Ooh. You know, I would want a Hedwig. But just for the sake of maintenance, I would probably get a Pigwidgeon.
I don't know. Hedwig likes to like go out and do her own thing. Pigwidgeon's very
Yeah, that's true.
attention seeking.
That's true. I could just leave the window open, Hedwig's cage open, and just...
She just comes and goes as she pleases and does her own thing.
Yeah, I might do a Hedwig then. Because, yeah, that sounds about right.
Whereas Pigwidgeon is probably going to be, you know, in your face.
Yeah.
And one of the cats might eat him.
That too.
You know, he's a little guy. Alright. That was a pretty short chapter anyway.
Mm-hmm.
So, please like, comment, and subscribe. Let us know what else is going on at the magical world of Harry Potter down in Florida, or if any of you guys have been, and is it worth it? And we will see you next time for Chapter 7, Bagman and Crouch.